This call is now being recorded.
So, hi guys, welcome to the webinar How to Write the Perfect SOP LOR for Masters in Abroad. Okay, these are the memberships offered. As you've registered on our website, you've been upgraded to the bronze membership for free. If you go for the silver membership, you'll be getting Usual Pro University recommendations, smart application tracking, and also free 100 hours GRE course. If you go for the gold membership, you'd be getting one-on-one 20 hours IELTS coaching, expert university recommendations, and also a dedicated counselor for the entire application process, which includes a statement of purpose, letter of recommendation, and visa. We have an option called free profile evaluation with our experts. So under this, you'd be getting comprehensive evaluation, university shortlisting, course recommendations, country recommendations, a recommendations report at the end of the session, and also doubt clearance during the session. We have free IELTS live classes which go on from Monday to Friday, 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And we also have free Duolingo live classes which go on from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. on Monday to Friday. And we also have free GRE live classes going on from Monday to Friday, 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And that's a 2-month course. Okay. People who are planning to go in spring 2024, we have an option called campaign called free admission processing, where we'll be helping you out with the applications. You'll be getting application fee waivers and many more elite features along with expert counseling. This is the speaker for today's session. His name is Mr. Jaideep Gurjala, and he's also a co-founder of Ubergrad. He's an alumnus of BITS Pilani and IIM Kozhikode, and he's also the co-founder of Ubergrad. So he's been awarded the gold medal for his academic excellence at IIM Kozhikode. He's worked with prestigious firms like BCG and educational initiatives to post his studies. With a great passion for education and deeply inspired by Khan Academy, Jaideep has been mentoring students and helping them learn and grow in their careers. He has now joined Ubergrad.com as a co-founder and guided more than 10,000 students over the last five years, including students from prestigious institutions like IITs, BITS, and NITs. Okay. And these are just our achievements. So I'll just be showing you about our website right now. So if you go to our website, you will see an option called events. If you go into events, you'll see all the events which have occurred before and are going to happen. So if you register for any of these events, you'll be getting the recording of these events as they have already happened. We also have a new event which is coming up called Best Masters Courses Abroad to give you high-paying jobs. This is going to be happening on next Saturday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So guys, anybody who is interested, I would suggest that you guys please do go onto our website and book your seat now so that you can register for it. Okay, now I would request Jaideep sir to take over the session.
Thank you, Shloka. I'll be just taking over. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me and see me. Okay. So you'll be getting the recordings. They are there in the YouTube, by the way. Also, we'll be sharing the recordings once you register for the webinar in our website for the past events we're talking about. So you'll be able to access them once you get it. Right. Good evening, guys. Okay. So today's session, I'll just share my screen. Just give me a second. So I hope you can see my screen as well now. Great. Okay, I'm also keeping my chat open. Yeah. Just bear with me. Okay. So guys, before we start, as usual, whenever I do a webinar, I always ask a question, but this time I'll also ask another question. So it'll be good if you guys can just help me understand. Like there are almost 80 plus people that I can see here. What course you are trying to go for your master's and what intake you're looking for. These two things would be helpful for me. Country wouldn't be that important for this session for me, but I'd be curious to know. But ideally, if you can help me out with the course that you're planning to apply for in your master's and which intake, as in the spring, the Jan 24 or August 24, or the future, right? Some of you could be ones who are just curious to understand what is this SOPs and stuff like that. Thank you, Pyle. Electrical engineering, Jan 24, data science, computer science, marine biology. Okay. I'm not sure what MPP is, Sakshi, maybe public policy. I'm assuming so. Masters in public policy. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, you have analytics, entrepreneurship, supply chain, civil engineering, data science, agriculture. Great. I think I can see quite a few, varieties. Some of the examples that I've put here are a little bit limited for some of you, but I'll try to, explain what can be the other possible examples for the other domains, right? So you can obviously push a question. We also thought, if you have anyone who's written an SOP, great. If you have anyone has a written an SOP or LOR and you want just an instant, I might pick one or two if we get some. So you can just send it to hello@ubergrad.com. If we have time at the end, we'll do live discussion for 5 minutes. If not, at least we'll send simple mail giving your feedback on mail for few of the people. We have few samples that we pulled from some of examples, but I would be happy also to pick one or two live examples then and here and then and then discuss about it. Great. So what are we going to do before that? I think some of you know me, some of you might not be knowing me if you're attending it for the first time. So I am Ubergrad's founder, one of the founders, JD. Also have another founder, Mr. Ravindra. Both of us come from BITS Pilani and IIM background, have our own entrepreneurial journeys. We're working together on this Ubergrad, to build a study abroad platform to help students have transparent and more straightforward approach towards fulfilling their study abroad dreams. Talking about today's webinar, I'm going to talk about the SOPs and LORs, just a brief introduction. By chance, if some of you are not aware of, and few key points here and there. But the key thing that is going to be the main topic for today is how should you build an SOP? What is the structure? And the common mistakes we keep looking, or rather we keep seeing in others, and we would just highlight few of them and also talk about a good LOR structure with an example. And as I said, if you guys are willing, as I said, maybe moderator Shloka, Grishma, you can just drop a hello@Ubergrad's email right in the chat so that people can drop their SOP if they're interested. We might pick one or two depending on the time we have. At least in the worst case scenario, at least we'll do a quick review and send you feedback on mail at least. If not, we don't pick it up for today. Right. So finally, we'll be open for Q&A. That's what we're going to do. So what is an SOP? Can anyone start with this? What is the full form of SOP in the chat? Statement of purpose. Great. So what does that mean? Now you've given me the full form. Great. But what is the meaning of a statement of purpose? If anyone can just write in 1-2 lines. I know in chat it's hard, but anything that you can talk about is good. Motivation to study in a particular institute makes sense. Why are we going to particular university? Okay, applying for this course. Yeah, I think in a very nutshell, course and university, right? Both of them are important. What's your motivation? What's your agenda, or what's your reason to apply to this program in this university? Right. Yeah, in a way, I think, Jonan, as you said, the other way to look at it is that you're giving them a reason to select you. And you're telling them, see, I'm so good that you have to select me, right? One of the important parts of your application process in SOP. So indirectly, it's sort of, though you're expressing why you're applying for this university and this program, indirectly your agenda is to give them more logical reasons for them to feel like this candidate looks like a good fit for me. So let's take this guy. Like, give them an admit. Right. Okay. So see, that's, I think, a very robust on what you said. Goals, background, qualifications, reasons for I think that's fairly good written, right? Boasting oneself, sort of, it is needed pile in this world. I think if you can't boast yourself, who else will do it? That is what LOR does. LOR's job is to let someone else boast you, not yourself. SOP's job is to give yourself a chance to boast yourself, right? That's what they are for. That's fairly correct. Right. So let's start with this. I think more or less a good understanding from some of you, but I'll still reiterate few points. See, I think the critical aspect I believe about SOP is that it's the only thing that you do where you get to talk to the admissions committee, right? Yes, you are writing an essay. 1,000 word is what typically we see, but I would say this is one piece of essay that you write, which gives you a chance to like literally talk. Like you don't really few MBA programs and all would let you do an interview and all of that. But ideally, even before shortlisting for interview, SOP is one aspect or one of this thing which gives you a chance to talk the admission committee, talk about yourself, boast about yourself, as what Payal said. Yes, SOP should express your reason behind applying to a program and university. You have to cover both, because don't keep a generic SOP. Talk about that university for every SOP. So ideally, you should have, if you're applying for 8 SOP versions. Yes, 95% of the SOP could be same if the program is not changing, but you just definitely have to mention the name of the university and a couple of professors' name and their research to make it sound like it's a customized SOP written for that university. And if you're applying for different programs, definitely you need to write a broader, different SOP for each. It's like giving yourself a chance to tell your story. Typically an applications package will talk about your CGPA, your GRE, or IELTS, or other exam scores, right? These are all some numbers. SOP is the only subjective aspect of your profile which actually gives them a chance to understand about you a little bit more. And if they're really interested, explore you more and consider you for the admission process. Right? Sometimes it could be the deal breaker, and especially for the top universities. If you're looking for a top 100, 200 ranked universities across the world, I can tell you that's even more important, because almost all the applicants would have a very high CGPA, great GRE score, and good English score. So now the differentiating thing comes from the way you write your SOP, right? I'm not saying that you can write something which is not there in your profile. So SOP is amalgamation, a summary of your entire 20 odd years of professional life, at least last 6-7 years, right? If not all 20 years. Right. So why is it important for admissions? That's what I'm saying, right? So I see two candidates, both of them got very similar, right? Let's say, I'll just write it down here. Imagine that there's a student A who got 330 in GRE, let's say 7.5 in IELTS, and comes from one of the top institute in India with a CG of 8.2. There's another student who got 326 in GRE, right? Let's say 110 in TOEFL, and then 8.5 CGPA in similar level institutes, right? So now there's hardly anything I can differentiate here, okay? So, but there's only one seat, let's say. So ideally, that is where they get into understanding the real need of your profile, right? If you're applying for a particular specialization, who has more relevance, right? Whose profile stands out as compared to the other one is what they would obviously choose. So SOP is fundamentally the art of telling about yourself, but obviously you can only tell about what you've done, right? Obviously you cannot lie. You cannot say that I have done a paper publication when you have not really done it. Now the art of telling is important, because if you don't highlight what you have done, it's as good as not doing it at all. So you have to be very good with also explaining what you've done. So you should have done good things, obviously. I'm not saying without good profile, you cannot write a good SOP, but SOP is all about trying to put yourself in a good place in terms of explaining what you have achieved, what are your goals, and what you want to achieve, right? Okay. Similarly, LOR, what is this LOR? I've already shown it, but let's still, I know people know what is LOR, letter of recommendation, but what is this about? Something similar with what you guys have done for about SOP. I would be happy to hear out what is this LOR. A lot of AI assistants are joining. Can someone help me out? Also elaborating what is an LOR. Recommendations from previous professors. Yes, LOR is letter of recommendations actually. Yeah, from previous professors. Yes, but what does it constitute? Like what would an LOR talk about? Which number should I consider before applying for MS Office? Because there are many numbers according to different sources like investors. Okay. Hiren Kumar, I'll keep it at the end, right? Just not to go out of the discussion, but I'll make sure I'll answer it at the end. Stay till end and give me the question at the end, I'll answer it. To get recommended from professors under whom we have worked, showcasing how good and proficient we are academically, past records, capabilities, talking a negative as positive. Okay. Your ability to stay true to your vision, professor assures us that you are good. Talking about, yeah, I think, see, LOR fundamentally is about someone who has their own credibility giving you a validation. Okay. Like, yes, what is the LOR talking about? Some of you have mentioned it. I'll go a little bit deeper into it. What all should be covered in LOR as well. But in a very simple format, it is an external validation, right, from academic or professional people. Like one of you said professors, but I would also say that if you have a good work experience, getting one LOR from your workplace also could help, depending on what's your quality of work experience and relevance of your work experience. I think when you talk about the LORs, there are three formats that you can see at the bottom that I've written. Right. I'll highlight that part, but let's say before go ahead, see the quality of LOR is dependent on two aspects. I'll answer your question also. One is who is recommending this, right? So imagine that I get a recommendation from a professor in my college who has literally negligible amount of research publications, right? See, ideally, not every professor is internationally famous guy, right? You would be working with a lot of professors in your college who are not very reputed across the world. So the quality of a professor is purely judged based on they look up the professor's profile in the standard publications and see the quality of their research background. And that's a simple way of them understanding the quality of the professor, right? The short gist of understanding the quality of professor is what the admissions committee would do, maximum. Then what all did they talk about? See, I could be a professor who had publications done in like 100 plus international journals, right? And I'm very well known across the international academic world, but I have absolutely no clue about you. You just asked me to write an LOR, I've written it just very superficially. It will come across a little bit, right? It will still not be really seen a strong one. So the combination is important. At the same time, you have someone, a very young lecturer or a professor who just completed their PhD a year or two back, the limited research profile across the world. Now, even if they give a strong recommendation for you, it will also not stand out in a very big way because their profile is weak. But if you ask me, the best case scenario would be a strong recommender giving you a strong recommendation because they know you a lot. Knowing you as in doing coursework is one aspect. They would just mention that, hey, Jaydeep did master, like, an artificial intelligence, a database management, a structure strength of the materials course with me. That's it. And then I've seen him doing good in the coursework. He scored well. This is a very basic level of recommendation I'm talking about. An advanced recommendation is more in the lines of you did a research under them, you help them to publish a paper, they talk about your research capabilities, what was the contribution of yours in that research project, and how impressed they were with your project, right? Obviously, if you have done it, that is when you get it. So my point is the quality of your LOR is dependent on one aspect, which is the strength of your recommender, and the other part is about what exactly you do with them. A simple coursework is obviously not as serious as doing a serious project with them. And if it got published, a paper got published, that's even more impressive for your profile. So it is something you have to understand in getting don't just take it from any random person, right? Even in the workplace, imagine that you get it from a founder of a company and who has credentials of being an alumnus of an Ivy League university or got some good reputation in the market in terms of the professional market. That's still appreciated versus you getting from a startup with nobody in that and no one knows it. Yes, you might have done a great work, it would have lesser value. See, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that go and get it from super talented people. It's not possible for everyone always, right? So choose that balance of getting within your vicinity whatever is the best. Look at the strength of the profile of the recommender plus what exactly is the relation you carry, so that you actually get to see good stuff written in a detailed manner, not just a simple coursework being done, or not just that you are in some other team. I just saw you for once and I felt like you have good talent, so I've written an LOR in the work experience, right? Those two would not really add a lot of value. Right. LOR should talk about your technical subject matter expertise, obviously, from the recommender. Talk about your general ability to grow, right? Hard work. You have the ability to figure out things in the difficult situations, which is also going along with the individual personality traits. That's what they look at. And also your potential to really explore things further. Current scenario, I can see three types of LOR formats that universities are taking up. Okay. One is a simple essay written by your recommender. You just get them as what IC was asking, get in the letterhead format, let them sign and put a seal on it, and then they give it to you. You scan it and then upload it in your applications. Yes, that's important that you get a letterhead format of college with your professor name or something, and also you should have a seal and sign of it. Right, that's more or less what. If you don't have a seal, I don't really think you'll face that situation unless, let's say, in a rare scenario, you can try your luck by uploading without it. Universities would come back if they need it, otherwise they would accept it, right? Either of it will happen. The second one is an online form, which is basically you would just go to a person and he would say, I would recommend you. You need to get their email ID, put it in your application. Then they would be receiving a mail. In that, they would be asked to just fill some short questions, right? How do you know Jaydeep? rate him on these skills, on hard work, technical ability, programming skills, analytical ability, etc., on a rate of 1 to 10. So they'll just simply do it. And sometimes it could be subjective questions as well, right? Write about him in like what are his personality traits, what is his technical skill set, and that will be all subjective answers. Okay. What I'm talking about here is more subjective answers. I talked about rating form, which is the third format. I have seen, for example, George Washington University. I've seen that they just simply ask you to rate on 1 to 10 on 20, 30 parameters. That's it. And that's very straightforward and simple thing for someone to do without putting any effort to write any theory part. But the other one, which is where you have to write subjective answers, again, I think if you can get someone who is writing LOR on their own, a professor or a manager, great for you. But what I generally see is that they wouldn't do that with a lot of other things happening. You should give them a meat of content. That's what you will write your own LOR. They would go through this online form and pick some pieces of it on their own, from the content you've written, and then paste it as your answers. So these are the three possibilities. Is date mandatory? Absolutely yes. Right. As in, what was the date in which they signed, or what was the date in which they've given? Can LOR be generic or have to be specific to? No, LOR can be generic. You don't have to worry about institute name being mentioned in LOR. That's not a challenge. Don't worry on that part. So as I said, you don't really have to worry about the seal, but I would say generally we do see with seals, unless you have a specific reason why you can't get a seal from a college thing. Letterhead is something very important. If possible, get it with seal. If not, try it out with the university. Just send it to them as part of your application. If they need, they would ask for it, or they would ask you to look for some other person to recommend you. But if you ask me as a very basic safety question, make sure you get it on letterhead, get the date, get the sign done, and with a seal from the university or the college part. Online form does require signs or other stuff. See, online form would go to their personal email IDs, which would ideally be the college email ID, so they don't need anything else. That's like digital signature done by default when they fill the form. I also know some professors who would forward this to the student and ask them to write on their own. That also is something I've seen. So no one questions who has done it, but as long as the link that is being sent to the professor, that's it itself signs or rather validates it, right? Cool. So I'll just talk about this. You need 2 to 3 LORs. Preference is always given to academic LORs, which means from professors or college background, research projects and stuff like that. Work LOR, keep it to 1 if you have experience. Some people come to me and say, it's been like 3-4 years I've been out of college. It's hard for me to go back to college and get from the college. Rather, I would be finding it easy to find from my managers. But still, the expectation is do 2 from academic, that is college or your projects, and 1 from work experience is a good rule of thumb. But some people stick with 2 from WorkX and 1. Not that it's the end of the world, but that is what it is. If you can, always try to get this as much as possible. If you have experience, get at least 1 from your experience also. Like more than a year, but better you also get 1 from your experience. Okay, like project guides, course instructors, managers from the professional part. Talk about your project tasks, accomplishments, and future goals in detail with the recommenders if they are writing it. Or you mention that so that you are highlighting that when you're writing your own LOR. Make sure it is aligning with your SOP. In SOP, you have written that you have done a project on machine learning. You cannot write your LOR sounding with the same project name, but you don't talk about it at all and talk about something else, right? So people read SOPs and LORs if they're evaluating your application. Make sure that whatever is your project and description you're giving in a resume, SOP and LOR, they should sound like they're aligning. It should not sound like you are really faking it or making it wrong. Right, so I'll just show a couple of good statements in LORs. We've just picked some of them I liked from the past LORs I've seen. So someone XX, the student completed the project in time, but at the same time went above and beyond the project requirements by procuring the technology libraries that were not available on the campus. You see, this was not highlighting your technical skill, right? It is highlighting your personality trait where you are a go-getter. You will not leave things when they are difficult to be solved, right? Especially if you are talking about your LORs, try to highlight the traits is what I'm talking about, right? The noticeable feature about XX through this, whatever the earlier statement was that this was an independent initiative by him. And I saw him in the lab at odd hours, helping other students despite his own commitments. Again, this is showing their dedication, their commitment to getting things done, helping others, right? But this is something that is impressive for people who are reading it. Yes, they will also mention your technical traits also in the long LOR. I'm talking about, don't only keep it like an LOR which talks about absolutely he did on these programming languages, he used these models to build something. Try to, get something that talks about your personality traits and your desire to achieve things and your excitement towards doing literature review, explore the research aspects and stuff like that. See, template for online form, the university would send to the professor directly. But obviously, all of them ask the same questions. If you write a long LOR talking about certain aspects, what did you do the project was, what are your accomplishments, what did you exhibit as your personality traits, and that should be more or less enough to even answer those online form questions, right? Less than a year. See, internship is also fine, but that will come into your work experience, right? Unless if you have interned in IITs or IISc, that is research institutions, academic institutions, and you worked under professors, that is academic only. But if you have interned in professional setup or a corporate setup, it's part of your work experience. It is still worth it. You can still get it from your work experience side. Right, so let's look into a good SOP structure. Okay, so ideally an SOP is typically 1,000 words. Most of the universities would ask for 1,000 words. There's no fixed formula, but I think that should be a common number I keep seeing. And there is no standard format, to be frank, right? People can keep using their own style. Don't stick to what I'm showing, but try to get the essence of the aspects that you should cover. The SOP structure could be structured in your own way, chronological order, or could be the flow of the order, which talks about certain aspects being broken into pieces so that it's easy to comprehend. But make sure that you don't miss these elements, right? First, do a good introduction. Okay, I'll show a sample SOP broken into these pieces in a while. So we'll discuss a little bit deeper there so that you understand it. Make sure you talk about your undergraduate journey, right? Bachelor specialization, coursework you did, additional coursework, as in like online certifications. You went and did something in Udemy, Coursera, or somewhere else, the external certification courses you did, right? Like some people, especially I've seen something on the management side, do have CFAs, or do you have something else which are standard and international famous certifications that you have cleared? Great to talk about it as part of your undergraduate journey so far. Talk about the academic projects and the paper publications. If you have done any projects, paper publications, if you have done any publications, try to highlight them. Talk about your work experience, internships, full-time jobs if you have done, right? Then talk about the reason for pursuing your master's, right? Why do you want to do master's? Yes, you have done your undergraduate, you're working, or you can work. If you have done good stuff in your undergrad, what is pushing you to go for the higher education, right? You should show the hunger for learning things, the research, and you believe that you can learn a lot more and actually do wonderful stuff post your master's. Some standard answers, but highlight that. And what specialization you're going to do in master's, and how is it linking with what you've done so far? Right, I can see that the challenge would come. Let's say I did mechanical engineering and then I'm trying to apply for data science or computer science. Okay, obviously I wouldn't really stress a lot on my coursework of strength of materials, the thermodynamics or fluid mechanics, because they don't really add a lot of value to what I'm applying or what I'm trying to talk about. So then what should I do? Ideally, you should try to do a lot more additional coursework, certifications. Show how did it end up in such a way that you're excited to do a master's in computer science. Something triggered you. You did your basic C programming in first year, sort of excited you. You did full stack course, something. You did some internships. You did some freelancing. You have to show something or the other. Otherwise, obviously, whatever you have, right? I'm saying whatever you have. Some people from MEC to, let's say I'm trying to go for management courses, right? So again, you need to show not the technical skill set, but more your personality traits, extracurricular activities. Yes, we did not talk about here, but I'm sorry, this was more kept in, what do you call it? Engineering or the STEM sciences, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics people. But again, if you're talking about entrepreneurship or strategic management or marketing or HR or right finance, obviously finance is again a technical thing. You need to show CFAs and a lot of something or the other certifications or your coursework. But extracurriculars make sense highlighted in your SOP if you are going for more management side. If you are sticking with core engineering, I would suggest to not put extensive focus on it, saying that I did play sports and all of that. Yes, if you did an international or national level, it makes sense. But all you did is to play an inter-college sports event. Don't write 10, 20 lines on it. Write one line talking about your team, playing skills or something or the other. You did work as a president for something. You did help to coordinate college fest or something. Keep it 1-2 lines. Don't make it, because it won't add a lot of value for a technical SOP, as in if your master specialization is technical thing, right? If you are going for anything management, these adds a lot more value, cut on the coursework a lot more. If you are talking about coursework, you should talk more in the coursework linked to management. So keep this in mind. Whatever is your specialization, that should be the logic in which you should focus on things, right? Don't blindly go with writing everything that you have to write. And then how can this program in this university help you in your journey, right? Whatever is your aspirations towards your future, how does this help? You need to talk about what have you done so far, all of this, your undergraduate projects, experience, and what is your ambition, future goals, and how do you think this program, this university help you to bridge that, your past and your future aspirations with this in the picture. And finally, some concluding remarks, technically where you sort of, push that I will be a good student, I will be contributing to this batch from this university and make a positive output sort of it, right? That's sort of giving them a small assurance part. Yes, I will talk about the, it is very, very important you avoid it, right? The other question that people ask is me about is that, hey, I've written a lot in my resume and I was told that I should not write what is in resume in an SOP. I get to hear from some students, this sort of a question. I partially agree with it, okay? Don't write your SOP exactly like your resume. What do I mean by that? You will write your project name, what was the duration, like started so-and-so date, ended so-and-so date. You write 2-3 lines about what was the project about. Your SOP should definitely mention that you did a project on so-and-so thing, but sort of try to explain what was your learning from it, right? I got exposure to certain programming language. I got exposed to certain things. I improved my skill set. It sort of intrigued me. I further explored something else. I did some additional certification. So your SOP should go in a flow which sort of explains them, like few things have led to one thing. Few things have excited you to do something else. That led to do something else, an internship, a project that led you to get a job. And in the job you realized and now you want to do your master. So you should try to take it in such a way that it should talk about your personality growth and your technical skill growth. Don't treat like it will be a bullet points of how your resume would be. Yes, the points would still obviously overlap. There's no doubt about it. But don't make it look exactly like I'm just reading a paragraph version of your resume. Resume will not mention that I have learned to be a team player. SOP should talk about that, for example. Right, so let's look at this example SOP of one of the student comes from a computer science background and applied for computer science master. So which is fairly a straightforward switch. So it makes it easier to discuss, but I know not everyone is going to fit in this from what I've heard earlier, but try to get the essence of it. If you still have specific questions, I will be happy to answer after a while about your own specific thing. But see, one thing I would say, your introduction should start, there is no fixed format for it. Start talking about, get to the point of, you are interested in whatever is the specialization, right? People talk about, I come from a background in my so-and-so rural village or underdeveloped town of India, and then I was the first person to graduate out of my family. There are ways that people use. It's up to you, but don't let it go waste by writing a big paragraph on it, okay? Write something crisper, like this student has written something on, getting introduced to some concept right from school days and typing keys and stuff. This wouldn't add a lot of value. Anything that you're writing to just introduce and get into the flow, don't try to, keep it really long, narrating about your family background and, yes, talk about difficulties. You are the first generation graduate of your family. That something needs to be highlighted. People appreciate if you say that I did not have enough support, but still I overcame the problems and achieved something. Okay, but keep whatever you write about your family background or introduction, talking about how did you get into an undergraduate and specialization. Just go into flow. Write a simple introduction. So I knew I wanted to take computer science. So something like from childhood, I was exposed to computers, did basic C# and HTML and sort of led me to get excited. And I did pursue my undergraduate degree in computer science and so college in India. This is the basic introduction the student had. As I said, there's no fixed formula. Everyone can do their own thing. If you start looking here, this is where the student is talking about their journey in the undergraduate, right? So when I joined, I intended to explore a lot of verticals, to get myself exposed to a lot of things and decide what excites me. So during my freshman year or first year, that's an American slang freshman, so you can write in either ways. I attended a website building workshop where I created some website. This is a simple point about where did you start or how did you start, right? Some people start with the coursework, some people start with workshops or events, they were seminars, they were part of whatever was the thing that got them to the technicality, technical things exposed. This workshop gave me exposure to front-end languages, server side. So this is again, as I'm telling you, see, you could skip these languages also, but the point is you need to highlight your skill set. Your technical skill set should also come across, be it programming languages or softwares or any thing like any specialization, subject matter expertise should come out with some jargons, but don't overdo it. But definitely try to show that you have built your subject matter expertise over years, not just like last 6 months or 1 year of my coursework. Again, second year, I had an online course by Carnegie Mellon University. I attended. The course introduced me something concepts. Again, you're talking about it. Same year, I also participated in a hackathon. Again, I built some prototype. And again, that was something. So see, all of this are small things the student did, but talking about how the student got exposed towards programming, right? Front end, back end, it's a web app. Now you're talking about an online robotics course. Yes, she's applying for computer science. Microcontrollers wouldn't make direct sync with it, but still it is partially linked to it. So the interest that the student is having to, do a good course from a good university is always appreciated, even if it's not 100% in sync with the specialization. And participating in hackathon. So see, the person who is reading inherently gets the feel that the student is putting effort. The student is trying out things. They're not like, I've just come to college, did my coursework and graduated. That looks very bland, but this looks a little bit, you have gone out of your basic academic and you have done some extra stuff. That shows your enthusiasm. That shows your hunger to learn things. Further exploring subjects. This is where she's getting into her academic thing, right? I learned concepts like non-relational database, MongoDB, right? These are all obviously for computer science grads. Others also, you can talk about your own undergrad course subjects. You have built my own game. Then because of my passionate teacher, I also came to appreciate a formal language, right? Programming languages. During my third year summer break, I got to intern. So she started talking about her internship. So she picked up a chronological order right from year one, like how she kept on doing things and, talked about it. This was my first experience in machine learning, right? The student went on highlighting her machine learning interest and experience. You will see it as I keep going forward. And then talks about k-means clustering algorithm. And whatever is her project, she's explaining. If you see, okay, this was NPTEL, leave it. But if you see that, not only did I work hard, you see, the point is not just mentioning I learned machine learning. See, that's not the agenda of writing an SOP. The art of writing an SOP is talking about that you are working hard to learn new things, which are not part of your coursework. You are actually faced some challenge to solve that problem, but you went ahead and took help of some seniors or your professor or something. You did your research online. You figured out a solution. These things would get highlighted. As I said, underlyingly, you're talking about your personality traits that sort of excites them to understand, okay, this student seems to be really hardworking and most importantly, go-getter and problem solver. Right? Irrespective of what specialization you're applying for, these are the underlying principles people like in a person. Right? Have the technical skill, curiosity to figure out things on their own, put effort to explore new things and work hard to achieve things, right? This is what your SOP should talk about. You should figure out how to structure it, right? Then went on to do an NPTEL course. See, a lot of people might have done certification courses, right? So these things you should keep highlighting. Not about the quality of the course, but rather it shows that you did not stop with only pure college coursework. You went and beyond, try to do some additional stuff to learn and grow yourself. Having explored various subjects, machine learning particularly caught my, as I said, she stresses a little bit more on it. And she chose that as her final year project. And then she starts explaining the project, right? So they picked the problem statement and then, they wanted to use so-and-so models. See, again, these are technical skills that highlight, okay, this student got exposed to this. If you don't write this, the idea is that you're not showing the extent to which you've learned things, right? This is something for you to highlight your technicality. Okay. A lot of pre-processing was done. Show the difficulties, right? If I avoid this, then how would they know the challenge that you face to solve it? Try to obviously scale things up and show that it was a challenge. You cleaned the data, you went beyond something to figure out some solutions and solved it. Professor helped, you figured out, but somewhere you create your own problem and then show that you did solve it in your projects. Like that is what you should highlight, which you would not put in a resume. Okay. We found gradient boosting gave better accuracy than the other ones, right? Was very well received, and they also published. They did present in inter-college poster. They also got a paper published in this. So these are all aspects that sort of highlights the output of their project, right? Getting a chance to participate and winning publications and stuff shows that means their quality of output was also good. So a good effort and a good output, right? That is what people would understand from it. And that is what you should also try to highlight in your SOP. Work experience, she started talking about work experience. She did an internship somewhere. They again got exposed to certain things. She did some technicalities. So that is one aspect of it, right? She just sort of explained things about what was the problem statement, but should also understand this was a good opportunity for me to demonstrate my ability to identify the industry and provide solutions. That means she has the ability to understand the problems or identify the problems and solve them. Understand, don't sound like you're just listing out all your technical skills, okay, or whatever the part. Try to always come out with an outcome of what did you achieve from doing something, right? Which should be your personality. Which should show that you are a problem solver, you're a team player, you're a hard worker, you're a go-getter, right? These are standard adjectives I'm throwing, but you should try to look at positive strengths and try to come out that as an outcome along with technical learning. If you're applying for if you are showing your technical skill set, so technical skill or subject matter expertise plus personality. But let's say if you're applying for management courses where your technical skill is very not at all in picture, you will minimize this and focus more on this, right? That should be how you highlight that you are a manager or you are someone who has problem solving skills from analytics background, plus you also can work with people and get things solved. And again, here talking about full-time employee, talking about SQL stuff, right? Again, she got some awards, received the Star Employee Award twice, recognizing. This is again showing the output. You did some technical work, right? You did so and so, you optimized large data transfers. As I said again, see, why did I say optimize large data transfers? To show it was a challenge. Large data transfer was a challenge. Now I use some, solution and I fixed it. Obviously, every problem solution is there. You fixed it. That's what everyone would have done. It's about you making it sound like a big challenge and you solved it using some technical aspects that you have built, plus your own personality traits that sort of let you achieve it. And you also got some awards, some appreciation. Apart from technical skills, it also taught me the importance of teamwork and collaboration while also allowing me to present myself, right? This is what you need to highlight about. So now I'm talking about SOP for masters only, by the way. No, you should type it out. You will not put it on your own handwriting, right? So this one is about your higher education aspirations, right? You tell me the reason for your masters. Why do you want to go for your masters? Okay. So during our project in final year, a professor told me that I need to, learn stuff, and that would be done if I join and to do masters in one of the top universities. Okay. And also after working for a few months in my current organization, I could clearly see that my senior colleagues who have strong knowledge after doing masters would actually do better in my job, sort of gave me, an perspective. After careful discussion, I realized that I want to do my masters in higher education. This is a reason of why you want to do masters. Now, why you should also show that I want to pursue masters in your university as the courses you offer. Look at the course curriculum, okay? When you are deciding on applying to a university, the things that you should do when you are customizing your SOP for that university, look at the course curriculum. What are the subjects that they are offering? Try to pick few of them that sort of excites you from past experience, projects, your internship and work experience, which sort of correlate with them, right? Next, look for the professors who are offering the course, right? Mr. Hassan, right? Mr. Mutsumi. And what is their research? What is their specialization? You can obviously go through the profiles in the university website and understand their specialization and start focusing on that. Okay, tell that this is what you learned from it. This is what excites you, getting a chance to learn from the top faculty who have done the research and so on. So this sort of highlights that you have done your own research of understanding the course curriculum. You have understood the professors and what courses are being offered and what you get out of it. That is appreciated by them. This is sort of customizing your SOP and makes them believe that you have gone through what is there for the offering from this university in this program, and you're really positive about it, and they sort of get that conviction if you give them a good answer over here, as in talking about the professors and their research and courses and the course curriculum, and about the university also. Praising university can be done talking about their rankings, about their alumni, successful alumni, right? You can say that I'm very impressed with these people and stuff. I really aspire myself to be there and sort of, grow and see a similar career for myself, right? These are 3-4 styles people should do, praising the university and highlighting that you have done enough research to have a strong opinion of showing a desire towards this program and university as a combination. Then the conclusion, right? Then again, a generic conclusion, which would say, I see myself graduating as a skilled developer based on whatever is the specialization you're doing, as a skilled manager or a multifaceted manager or an entrepreneur, etc., who works a company developing significant ideas into products. So you will write stuff like, what do you expect to learn here? What is the contribution you will do? That it's not that only you will learn, but you'll also help your batchmates to grow, right? It's a win-win collaboration I can do and stuff like that, right? So this is what your basic conclusion should do about it, right? I'm showing a sample. You'll also get to see the recording if you're interested to go a little bit slower into it. But my point is, I don't want you to write the same thing because everyone has their own story to write, right? The aspect is, I'm just highlighting the aspects I believe that you should keep in mind, or you should change your mindset while you sit for your SOP. Okay, the important aspect, I'll just reiterate again, right? For an SOP, which is try to put a nice story. That's important. Don't sound it like it's a broken piece from A to B to C to D, right? Should have a good flow. Talk about what you did, why you did, what you got from it, and how it helped to do the next thing. After doing a lot of things, you realize that it's a barrier that I should learn more, do masters. And why should I do masters in your university? Because I like something in your university. And finally, if you give me a chance, I will make sure that I contribute positively. That's the conclusion part. Again, this is one style. Everyone has their own style, right? But I am talking about, make sure you highlight your technical skills from your projects, coursework, and stuff like that. But make sure you also highlight your personality, which is the very, very key thing that I'm talking about. Okay, that you have that enthusiasm, you have that curiosity to explore, solve the problems, because this plus this and your desire, to join the university. That's basically what they get from reading it. Understand, they don't really start sitting reading your SOP and start grading you on each aspect. Okay, it's a 2-minute job for them. They read it, on overall they get a feel how good the student technical skills are and how good the personality is in terms of working hard and figuring out things, and then they take a call on SOP aspect. Okay, so what are the mistakes that you should avoid? Shristi, if you have a different university and one is who is writing is from, yeah, that's absolutely fine. There should be a reason why someone from other university is writing for you. You did an internship under them, or a project under them in your summer internship. That is where it makes sense, right? There should be a link of the person who is recommending you, as in they worked with you in some way or the other. That's, if you can establish it, there's no problem with that. What are the common mistakes you should avoid? See, avoid quotations. Okay, I know a lot of people love it. My only complaint with it is, it sounds like a good start, but you are wasting your words. Like, let's see, this is an example. Okay, one has to watch out for engineers. They begin with saving missions and end up with the atomic bomb, as quoted by Marcel Pagnol. Civil engineers start with no man's land and end up with a new city or a villa of skyscrapers. What do I get by reading it? You're just copy pasting from someone. What do I achieve from it? Absolutely nothing. It adds zero value to your SOP if you are just unnecessarily wasting certain number of words. You are not here to impress them with your literature skills. You are not here to impress them with your writing skills. When I say the art of storytelling, it's not about how nicely you put your words down in terms of the language. It's more about how nicely you are putting your skill set outside. You are expressing your skills in a very natural flow when you are reading, is what the art of storytelling. It's not about having a bang on introduction and giving a bang on conclusion, or a good interval break like a movie. Okay, so don't get into figuring out one day to see a nice quotation that fits. There's nothing like a nice quotation to put in SOP. Okay, avoid is what my strong recommendation. Let's say if somehow your feeling is not to put it aside, don't keep it more than a line or two. You're wasting some words, but at least don't waste a lot. That's my point. And again, don't use fancy English. I again see some people feel that a good SOP equals to fancy English, Like, at the very egress of my schooling, right, delineating the objectives, pristine buildings, made me burn the midnight oil. This is not an IELTS, TOEFL, or exam where your English is being appreciated for your vocabulary. If you're applying for science courses, unless you're applying for English literature, okay, I don't see any value addition by writing these stuff. You could also write, right, the stability and the maintenance of internal environment made me curious to know about the construction techniques. That's absolutely fine. There's no difference you achieve by writing nice phrases, idioms, and put your head around it, or ask someone to write for you by doing all these things. Okay, better you keep it simple, but convey the key things, your technical skills, or subject matter expertise, and your personality traits, and put it in a nice flow. That's what matters, not the fancy English, right? Like a good introduction, one of the sample I found is something going to the point. I'm a senior undergraduate student, bachelor in engineering, did so and so. I'm interested in this domain, right? What excites me is that if I can impart computers the ability to think, it has the potential to solve a lot of problems in the world. I'm really interested to learn these techniques, in my master's. That you're highlighting the sub-specialization you're interested in, and considering the complexity of the problems, I desire to pursue a graduate degree. So this is also introduction. You can give a reason of why you want to do master's right at the start, and then talk about your undergraduate journey and so on, as I've shown. But whatever you write, focus more on your desire. What is that excites you? What is that you've done so far? Show your personality, show your vision, or show your desire, or what they call it, real goals of life. Obviously, goals of life could be money making or stable life, that we would not mention, but more on the academic, learning, and technical aspects I'm talking about. Again, this repeated, I don't know why. So again, I see some people believe quantity is important. I will write 10 pages of SOP. I will keep 20 pages of, my resume. Quality matters. No one has time to read 10 pages. No one has time to read 10,000 words. Stick to the word limit. Keep it short. Even you write long, it doesn't mean you have a lot to talk about. Try to put yourself into a position where you are the reader. You will not be excited to read 100 SOPs from 100 applicants as part of your job, where you put 1 hour for each SOP. So think from that way, keep it short, keep it crisp, but make sure you highlight what you want to highlight in that 1,000 words. You should not have a regret of missing anything important after writing your SOP. And common thing again I see is grammar and spelling mistakes. Yes, people understand you are a non-native speaker. Few mistakes are not really that deal breaker, but if they consistently happen, they consistently show your carelessness, not being serious to go through proofread it, then definitely it's not a good sign, right? And also very bad grammar. Small grammar mistakes is fine, but very bad grammar doubts your ability to really do a course in English. So don't let that happen. Avoid plagiarism. Do not copy from others. Okay, people use the tools. At least use the GPT. Okay, people ask me, what about using AI to write the content? See, there is no way to find if the content is written by AI. You will find some tools online, but they're not genuinely true. You can go and do this research. I've read it like few months back. OpenAI, who is the parent of GPT, tried to build a tool which will give classifiers to tell if the content is written by a human or a AI. They literally scraped the project, saying that they're unable to differentiate after doing extensive research on it, and they still are trying to figure out a solution. There is no 100% solution that says if the content is written by AI or not. But the challenge is, if you give it GPT, it will write very generic for you. Try to give nice prompts and only get it right, small paragraphs, go through it, proofread, and do some basic edits. That is much better than just doing latent plagiarism, which is pick something from internet, change some names, and just push it out. I really laugh at it when people do it, because you have very high chance you'll get rejected for it. Why am I saying it? Because plagiarism tools are very easy to find online. You can only Google it, you find 10 tools like it. And the universities do premium paid tools, which would give them a very clear output. And if it's more than if the plagiarism is less than 10%, I think universities might let it go. But if it is more than that, you have a good chance they'll outright reject your application, even if you are a strong candidate. Then there are small SEO tools, for example, is one I generally check. You can try this. It's a free tool, small SEO tools, where you just go and see online plagiarism tool. You put your SOP and you will get it if it's what percentage of it is plagiarized and stuff like that. Don't focus on irrelevant stuff. As in, I did mechanical, I'm applying for computer science. Don't waste an entire paragraph talking about your coursework achievements. Yes, you can highlight you did good academically, your grades were good, you got something to learn about it, but keep it to minimal so that you focus on other aspects. If it's not relevant, don't go on talking about it. You worked as a scientist and you're applying for, let's say, for management, the relevance is less, but you can talk about some skills you built. But again, don't go on talking about your technical experience for pages and pages when you're applying for management degrees. Right. Finally, don't make your SOP look exactly like your resume, which I was talking about. Don't make it like a paragraph version of your SOP. I'm not saying to write what's written in a resume. You have to write it, but write the learnings, the flow of your, what do they call it, transition from one to one, so that it doesn't look like just a bullet point version of your resume. Okay. Okay. So we're almost there. I'll end in 5 minutes and then I'll keep it open for questions. A good LOR structure, you should introduce as in the person, assuming you are writing your own LOR so that your professor can use that. So you should write an introduction talking about the relation of the student and the person, the professor or the manager who is recommending you. Explain the work you did with them and what was their observation, your technical skills, your normal personality traits and stuff like that. And finally, a conclusion, which sort of, giving in a trust that the student will be positive impact in the batch. Okay, a sample one. So this was an introduction part where a professor says, it gives me an immense pleasure to certify the academic strength of my ex-student who applied for your university. So this part, as I said, you can also skip it. Who applied for your prestigious university is very good, right? You just keep it generic. This is not a problem. My academic acquaintance. So how do I know him? This is the acquaintance. How do I know the student? Because I taught a course in undergraduation and then I have been teaching for 37 years. I saw him very closely and I can confidently tell that he's a good student with potential and is capable of taking great academic strides. So this is sort of a talking about the relation only introduction wise. Okay, how do I know him? Because I taught him course, right? I taught this course for him and also a mentor for several projects of him. So that's the relation I carry with him. I also, like as a mentor, I had the opportunity to be a guide for so-and-so projects. This is the relation establishment part. Now, how do I talk about the, what aspects did the student work with me and what did I like, what did I, highlight? In each of the projects, I'd only provide with him problem statement and overview of methodologies, but I was amazed to observe the extent to which he has come up with his own solutions, right? This is the boasting part. He's praising him. He did literature survey, virtually scored every pertinent book of knowledge, right? This one shows, right? Virtually scored every pertinent book means he worked a lot more harder than what I wanted him to do. The data was factual, reflected the ground status, which really helped in providing realistic and decisive breakthroughs. The modeling of the prototype and simulation of the solution was done purely on the merit. So this is all a little bit of technicality, but again, personality is what they're stressing on, right? He's a go-getter. He was outstanding. The results were good, right? It was praised by the committee also. And he was never saturated, right? He kept on looking for new stuff. He kept on learning. So this is again talking about his personality. So he stood in the top 3, which spoke of his diligence and dedication. So the entire LOR should talk about what did the student do with the professor or manager and what all are the personality traits that they are liking and they are exhibiting. That's what is highlighted. Finally, he's a minefield of knowledge and would prove a true asset to your institution. So my best wishes for it. So a basic 2-3 line conclusion talking about he's a good student and I think he will be a valuable addition to your university. Even if it's a manager giving you, it should be same. The relation is that he worked under me for so-and-so project in so-and-so company. I guided him for this. He did this, the technical skills expressed and the personality traits shown. I like this a lot. And I believe he'll be a good student for your thing. Right. That's what basically a good LOR should look like. Right. So I think that's what we'll do. I'm not sure if people have sent it or not, but I think we're already late. So what I can promise, by chance if you have sent it to hello, I'll make sure that we give you some basic review by Monday. Right, today Saturday night, so I cannot commit by tomorrow. At least by Monday, I'll make sure myself or my SOP expert in the team, one of us would go through personally and give you some basic feedback on improving it. Okay. Other than that, I'm happy to keep it for Q&A. I see a lot of questions coming, so you guys can ask me. I'll also share the recording so you can also go back and watch this aspects if you are confused about anything. So we help end to end, as what my team said. So if you're interested, you can also avail free processing that we do and get a lot of benefits from our team. So that's about us, and that's about the session. So you can ask questions. So I can go through some questions also. If you have any questions. Some common prompts for ChatGPT contributing the process in building a strong SOP. I think that's a good challenge. Sorry. What I would suggest is this, that a strong prompt should go about not writing prompt for the entire SOP. Rather, try to keep it broken into small pieces, right? Like how I have explored the structure part. Try to think yourself writing in 1,000 words, which should come around 6 to 8 paragraphs or 5 to 8 paragraphs, depending on what you want to write. So sort of undergraduate talk about, I am so-and-so, I did my degree in so-and-so, I did these coursework, I learned so-and-so, and this was my personality that I have exhibited here. You give these prompts, right? Like this objectives, right? I solved the problem solving, teamwork, I did relational database management, or worked on front end, back end, or something, using which you can actually give us a 2-3 line prompts and let it only start building the. Don't expect it to write the entire SOP in one go, which I think will not give you a very focused approach. It will give you a very generic output that I've seen. I've tried with a couple of examples. For example, I saw that it is writing very generic, like a template which can be used for anyone. But rather, for you to be more specific, make it broken into like 5-6 lines thing as output. So give a 1-2 line prompt talking about your nouns, your name, and what are the skill set you learned, personality, project names and stuff, models if you have used or something, programming languages or technical skills or coursework, and also some personality trait adjectives, go-getter, problem solving. And now you can ask it to build small paragraphs. You can take them and amalgamate or combine them and sort of build a bigger SOP. So you will get the link, Pranav, about the SOP recording if you're talking about accessing the entire recording. How can you please tell how to keep certificate in SOP? So Tejashwini, that I think one way is when you're writing it, like if you see this, like if you see this student SOP, this is one way, right? Certifications, like she talked about her Carnegie Mellon robotics course to enroll. See, when you do certification, what certification you're talking about? If it's an online course you did, then this is a way you should talk about. If you're talking about clearing exams like CFA or FRMs, just the finance exams and relevant some other exams for other specializations, in that case, you can talk about what excited you to attempt it, what was the difficulty you faced to clear it, and you finally cleared it. That's something you can talk about, proving something in your SOP. So guys, some of the earlier questions I'll go a little bit late, otherwise keep posting them in the chat only because I'm getting new questions, so you get there. How many words should SOP? As I said, SOP typically I see 1,000 words from most of the universities. Some might ask you to write in 500, which is the harder part, and also some might ask you to go up to 1,500 to 2,000. But very common one I've seen, 80% of universities will stick with this, which should be a good. LOR, again, they don't have a specific thing, but I would say anything closer to 500 words or less than that is what I generally see from the LOR aspect, right? 500 words from LOR and SOP 1,000 words is a basic rule of thumb I consistently see. You can have 10-15% here and there. You can have in 400 words or 600 words, unless the university specifically limit with a very fixed rule. Can an LOR be generic or does it have to be specific to only one? See, if you ask me, Jordan, in an ideal scenario, if you can get your professor to write for each university, that's like great thing, but most of them don't do it. What we generally do is we ask them to, or rather we ask students to get without mentioning the university, like your university, your prestigious university, something like that. Keep it more generic because professors are not really willing to give, 8 copies, 6 copies if you're talking about. If it's all about giving their email IDs, which is what a good number of universities are doing to send an online form, I think more or less you'll be good with not worrying about it. But generic is okay for LOR, which I think is a very much standard practice because not a lot of professors would be willing to give 5-6 versions of same LOR for the same student. Okay, Dinesh, thank you for the feedback. Happy to get that. But if there are multiple prompts for SS, how do you span out your experience? So I'm not sure of the question, Sakshi. I'm assuming you're saying your GPT prompts. Try to, or is it about talking? Sorry, can you just elaborate it? I'm not sure. Is it about sub questions of your SOP in the application process itself, or is it about the chat GPT prompts? Don't have any certification. How can we write in a better way? So Naveen, you can always see if you have certificate, that is what you write. If you don't, then we cannot do much. If you have time, maybe enroll for few to get it, but don't run after just for the sake of running after them. If you don't have it, then focus a little bit more on your academic coursework only, right? See, if you have done beyond your coursework, it's better to highlight it, but not everyone has that point to talk about. Then go a little bit deeper into your own coursework, like whatever are the core subjects you have done for the relevance of specialization you're talking about. What did you learn there? How did you grade? How did you score there? Were there labs? Were you efficient? Did you work as any TA or RA at later stages if you have done by chance in your college? So you can talk about that. Certifications is one aspect, but if you don't have, it is what it is. You can focus a little bit more on something else, which you see. Not everyone would have the same strength for your SOP. Okay, some might have great CGPA but very poor extra stuff to talk about. Some might have poor CGPA but have great projects or research papers to talk about. So you have done what you have done in your life, whatever made you feel good. So just try to highlight what you believe as your strengths are, right? Could be work experience, your internships, projects, or coursework, CGPA. Don't talk about CGPA 999. Don't write the number, but rather you try to highlight that you have done academically well. I'm just saying in general. How to write SOP? Is it going to be handled? So SOPs should be a Word doc. You would be asked to upload a PDF, or some universities would give you an application form which has questions where you have to paste the answer in a text box. It will never be an handwritten thing. Even LORs, if you upload a PDF, it would ideally be a letterhead printed one with the text being printed on it, which is computer typed. Prof will sign with seal and letterhead. You will scan it and then you will upload it, or it will be an online, LOR. So it never be handwritten for anyone. So sub questions, I'm assuming that some, especially management, applications would ask you to answer multiple questions, highlighting certain aspects, right? So understand what the question is focusing on, about your personality traits you expressed. Is it about your projects? Is it about your experience, technical skills? So if you write a bigger SOP, I think it should be good enough for you to break into relevant parts and then use that for your relevant sub questions. But I'm not sure if I could really answer your question. If not, please put it further. I'll try to elaborate. Could you summarize about using GPT for SOP again? Okay. I was just saying to break it down into small pieces. Don't expect it to write entire 1,000-word SOP in one go. Break it like 100, 150 word. Give it like the nouns, like Jaydeep did bachelor's in Bits Pilani, mechanical engineering, so and so year. Then did coursework on strength of materials of programming, computer programming, object-oriented programming. Then learned this stuff like that, and ask it like go get a problem solver. I'm talking about some adjectives and ask it to write something on it. You will get some nice 100, 150 word output out of it. You can edit a little bit if it's not making sense. Get those small chunks of 10, 15 types, right? Your project, your experience, internship, your coursework, your certifications, your extracurriculars. Let it write on all of them. Now you figure out the order and try to make it flow in an order is what I'm talking about. That's the way you can write. Don't expect it to do the entire job in one go. Or you write first your own paragraph in your own style, ask it to rewrite it. That will also do a good job. Grammatically correct, no plagiarism, and also it will give you a good, summary of what you've written, right? That will be a good way also. I've seen some success with that approach as well. Course accountants for management student. I'll tell you, so for everyone, I'll just show you something that, we keep getting an answer. That's why we did this in our website. But I'll also give you a more generic answer. This is a generic answer I'm going to show. Sorry, it will be there if you go to this in your research in our website. If you go to website and click on the research phase, you will see the course recommendations. So you would answer what did you study, right? Let's say I did bachelor's in management, whatever the management you did, right? People have BBA also, right? I'm not sure if that's there. So let's say whatever is your specialization. I'm just saying, for example, these are some of the things you can try to do your master's in, whatever the relevant, right? Let's say I did mechanical engineering. This will tell you what are, and again, you can go deeper and read on it. Like, let's say I click on it and you can read about the specializations and Again, what universities are offering, what are the job roles, what are the expectations. You can read a lot more on it. So this is something that we have made in our course recommender and country recommender tool that we have. But I need to understand, what did you do in your undergraduate? I'm assuming you're a management student in undergrad like BBA. See, ideally going for analytics is very good because that's in demand and you can easily see a good transition also. But you need to be able to do basic math, probability, and a little bit of coding. You cannot run away from it, right? Other than that, now the other aspect is doing HR, marketing, which I don't really appreciate that it's easy to get a job. It's hard. And again, you have to be careful in looking for a STEM course, okay? Because USA, I'm talking about. Other countries like UK and Canada, you can actually look for supply chain, logistics, right? And also something in terms of project management, which are not that hard. And you can also look for jobs and you can get a good opportunity post that. Finance, if you're interested, that's a good thing to look at again. If you have good skill set in finance, that's something you can look for. Talking about marketing and HR, I personally believe going for a new country and not being a native, it's not easy to handle people there. So not many people go for it or see a good success in terms of job opportunities. So that's something I'll be a little bit more careful. But analytics, finance, supply chain operations, project management, logistics are good things to look at. If you don't have any experience in keeping 1 year gap of you guys, how can we write? See, I think Amreen, for that, you should ideally talk about some online coursework you have done, some internship you have done. If you can, at least if you have not done, at least start doing it if you still have time, if you're before your application. Whatever you do, you write about it. At least try to get some online certifications, 2-3 back-to-back in a short while, and try to spread it over some time. Right? As in, like, you focused on preparing for the English exams and GRE for applying abroad for higher education. Plus, you also focused on some online certification to upskill yourself. Try to do both of it as your answer for the gap part. Right? Better that you don't highlight the gap a lot in your SOP, but ideally you'll get it for your visa and other places. But still, it's good that you actually, sort of fill them with relevant things, at least some certifications, online courses. If you can get some internships and stuff like that. Even if it's an unpaid, at least do something, to get something to fill the gap. Something should be there instead of a gap. That's a strong recommendation from my side. CS 50 offered free by Harvard. By issuing certificate will cost huge amount. Yeah. See, Alan, it's SOP and resume. When you write, they don't really ask for certificate. Okay, you can mention it. Don't worry about it. But if you haven't learned things, then it's hard. See, maximum I've seen some universities would ask to keep it generic and ask you to upload if you have any to upload, but they don't mandate you to upload it. You can write in your SOP and you can write it as an audit course, right? You can mention that, which means you don't get a certificate, but you did it. That's absolutely fine. So, and that should be something you should talk about, not worry about proving it with a certificate and throwing money at getting a certificate. Don't worry on that. Audit courses, if you have done genuinely and learned things, you can constantly write and highlight in your resume and SOP, and it would really add value in your SOP and resume. And also when you join to learn, it will also be a good addition to your learning. BCom, either in management or business. So Mukta, I think I've answered it. If not, you can be specific. So you have done BA in 21. Okay, Jessipal, I don't know your additional question. If you can keep it. I'll be happy to answer. Great. Any more questions, guys? I'll keep it maybe for a couple more minutes and then we can end. It's been almost 8:20. You guys have been great in staying back so far. So if you have any more questions, I would be happy. Otherwise, we're good to go. I think you'll get access to the recording. You'll get more stuff from our side. We are doing events next week, also a lot more events. Especially next week's event is on all the specializations we can look forward towards, in the abroad, US, Canada, UK, Australia. So you can actually understand the career opportunities, course curriculum, and what fits, etc. out there. Actually, Naveen Krishna, you can actually go to our own site. We have our own sample SOPs and LORs. So if you just go to my applications here, for that you should at least be a silver. It's a free upgrade that we're giving. You can access, you can take our team help. So you have sample SOPs you have written and also sample LORs and some basic tips on, SOP and stuff like that. You can actually access it. Maybe I can also put it in the chat if you need. And go ahead and but if you need more samples, you can as well upgrade to silver and access it. This is just a couple of samples that we have. Yeah. You can download these PDFs and use them just for your reference if you need. Master's in chemistry as well as full time. So can I upload LOR from college as well as from my work? Yes, Rashika. As I was telling you, you can comfortably, but the rule is 2+1. Generally, most of the universities ask for 3. So try to keep 1 from your work experience and try to get 2 from academics. That's a good mix. People with no experience will get all 3 of them from academics. People with heavy experience would be inclined towards getting more from work experience place. But I would ask you, if it is not possible, then only go for getting more LORs from the workplace. Keep this balance of 2 academic and 1 LOR from work experience. Then that should be a good mix. Okay, guys, then I think it's been great session. I had good time with very engaging audience also. It's been great energy from all of you also. We'll end with this, and yeah, I think that's it. I'll also end this session for all of you. But if you need more, right, we're anyways doing sessions in the future. I'll also be attending few. I'll coming